Well, good morning. Welcome to Coffee with the Pastor. Glad you could join me today. We are looking at the book of Acts. We're about to finish the book of Acts. We're in chapter 27. Paul has appealed to Caesar, and he's being sent to Rome. He's on his way to Rome, but they've had a shipwreck, and their ship's literally gotten caught in a hurricane, and it's been driven here and there, but there's an island that they're about to hit. And Paul has had messages. Paul's went from being kind of a prisoner to being really the advisor to the commander about what to do, what not to do. And we're going to see them have a shipwreck. Now, it's very detailed. Remember excuse me, Luke is the one who wrote the Acts. He wrote the Gospel of Luke and then also Acts. I saw a movie a few years ago. It was actually pretty good, but it was about the Apostle Paul, but they had him in jail in Rome, and they had the Apostle Luke having to sneak in and try and write everything down before, he was killed or whatever. Problem with that is that Luke was on this ship. Luke was with him a lot, and I'm sure that Paul had told him about their travels, so I don't think he needed to sneak into the prison and all. But anyway, made a good movie. But in verse 27 of chapter 27, it says, "On the 14th night, we were still being driven across the Adriatic Sea. When about midnight, the sailors sensed they were approaching land. They took soundings and found that the water was 120 feet deep. A short time later, they took soundings again and found it was 90 feet deep. Fearing that we would be dashed against the rocks, they dropped 4 anchors from the stern and prayed for daylight. In an attempt to escape from the ship, the sailors left the lifeboat down into the sea, pretending they were going to lower some anchors from the bow. Then Paul said to the centurion and the soldiers, 'Unless these men stay with the ship, you cannot be saved.' So the soldiers cut the ropes that held the lifeboat and let it fall away." The sailors were going to abandon ship, going to leave those guys who did not know how to sail to try and ground that thing. And Paul said, you let these guys go, we're liable to all be lost. So the Roman soldiers went down, just cut the lifeboat off, so nobody had a lifeboat. Just before dawn, Paul urged them all to eat. For the last 14 days, he said, "You've been in constant suspense and have gone without food. You haven't eaten anything. Now I urge you to take some food. You need it to survive. Not one of you will lose a single hair from his head." After he said this, he took some bread and gave thanks to God in front of them all. Then he broke it and began to eat. They were all encouraged and ate some food themselves. Altogether, there were 276 of us on board. When they had eaten as much as they wanted, they lightened the ship by throwing the grain into the sea. When daylight came, they did not recognize land, but they saw a bay with a sandy beach, where they decided to run the ship aground if they could. Cutting loose the anchors, they left them in the sea, and at the same time untied the ropes that held the rudders. Then they hoisted the foresail to the wind and made for the beach. But the ship struck a sandbar and ran aground. The boat struck fast and would not move, and the stern was broken to pieces by the pounding of the surf. The soldiers planned to kill the prisoners to prevent any of them from swimming away and escaping. But the centurion wanted to spare Paul's life and kept them from carrying out their plan. He ordered those who could swim to jump overboard first and to get to land. The rest were to get there on planks or on pieces of the ship. In this way, everyone reached land in safety. So they found land. They're heading towards the shore, and they hit a sandbar, so they're going to have to swim in, or if they didn't know how to swim, they're going to be on planks. The soldiers wanted to kill all the prisoners. It was a big deal for a soldier to lose a prisoner, but the centurion, like Paul, said, "We're not going to do that." So they didn't, and they all make it to shore. And they're going to be in Malta is where they're going to be. It's a very interesting story, and we'll take it up again tomorrow. I just find it interesting how Paul, though he knows nothing probably much about sailing or anything like that, but it is what God has told him and revealed to him that's helped save everybody. If it wasn't for Paul, he just looked and said, hey, you got to keep the sailors on the ship. And the sailors knew what to do to try and get them grounded and get them in as close as they could to shore. And so it is Paul who's really showing a lot of leadership here, which doesn't surprise me. Well, you have a great day, and we'll look at chapter 28, which is the last chapter of the book of Acts, in the next 2 days, and we'll finish up the book of Acts. Have a great day, and see you tomorrow.